Welcome to Living Life, the show that allows you to pursue things that make you happy, curious, and keep you open-minded. This is Living Life on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Welcome to the premiere of the Living Life podcast on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. My name is Howie Morgasen. Living Life is all about getting the most out of life and what it has to offer. Living Life will cover areas including photography, interior design, organization, and of course, food. Sweets, Treats, and Eats is all about simple preparation that will impress your family and friends. On this episode, it's all about Halloween and chocolate. We will be preparing several treats, including chocolate pretzels, Halloween bark, and a ghostly Smores dip. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind you where you can find us on social media. Check us out at Facebook and Twitter at Living Life ETB. Okay, so let's get started. Today we're going to work with chocolate. I love chocolate. Chocolate comes in all types of colors and flavors. We have a couple here that we're working with. So here is an orange chocolate, which is actually white chocolate that has food coloring in it. Here is milk chocolate, and that's the most popular chocolate out there today that everybody likes. And then you have dark chocolate, which is a little bit darker, a little more bitter than milk chocolate, but people like that one as well. So there's different types of chocolate and different colors depending on what you want to do. It also works out well during the holidays. So for Halloween, we have orange chocolate. For Christmas, we might have green chocolate. And, for different holidays, you'll have different chocolates. So once you have the chocolate, and chocolate comes in these little discs that, if you can see, this is called melting chocolate. And you can get it at different places. So you can get it at a candy specialty store, or if you don't have one of those nearby, supermarkets are now starting to sell them in the baking aisle in small bags called melting chocolate. And you can get those and you can work with them. So once you have the chocolate, once you have this melting chocolate, how do you melt it to sort of do the things you want to do with it? Well, there's three conventional ways that most people use to melt chocolate. The first one is if you have a small batch that you're doing for a small job, you might want to use the microwave. And you just take a microwave-safe bowl, you put the chocolate in it, and then in 10 to 15 second bursts, you put it in there, you take it out, you mix it, you put it back in, and you keep doing that until the chocolate is the consistency and melted and ready to work with. So that's the first way to do it. The second way to do it is what they call a double boiler, and that's what's over here. So the top is typically a glass bowl, and this is what holds the chocolate. And then you have a pot over here that you're going to put water in, and you're going to set that on the stove to simmer, not to boil. And then you put the bowl back in, and then you mix, and the chocolate melts. And then once it's melted the way you want, you can take the bowl off, and then you can do the work you have to do with the chocolate. If you do a lot of chocolate work, you can do what we do. And we bought one of these, not too expensive. This is a chocolate melter. It has two pieces. It has the bowl over here, and it has the heating unit. It has two temperatures, one for warming and one for melting. So once you get the chocolate melted, you can keep it at a good temperature as you're doing the chocolate work. So there are three different ways you can do with it. If you're just getting started, the microwave is easy to do. The double boiler is also pretty easy to do, so you can play around with that if you want to. So once you melt the chocolate, what do you do with it? So the first thing you need are tools in the kitchen to work with. First one is a spoon, because obviously you want to be able to mix the chocolate as it's melting. And then depending on what you're working with, so for instance, if you're working with pretzels and you want to be able to dip those in chocolate, you would have a set of tongs. And the tongs, so you put the chocolate in, and the tongs allow you to take it out, hold it over the top, and shake it so you can get the excess chocolate off it, and then you can put it down. In addition, if you're doing a lot of chocolate work, you may want to get one of these. This is a candy thermometer. And again, it allows you to see what temperature the chocolate is at. Chocolate is not very sensitive to temperature unless you get too hot. So the hottest you should get chocolate at is between 110 and 120 degrees Fahrenheit. If you get above that, it burns and it's no good. So you probably don't want to do that. Once you have the chocolate melted, you have a bunch of options that you can do. If you want to put things in the chocolate, like coconut, raisins, dried cranberries, you would put that in when the chocolate is melted. You would stir it around, and then you would sort of put it out to set. If you're putting things on top of the chocolate, then you would get things like this. This is colored sprinkles, Halloween colors. And then you would set out your chocolate, like if you're dipping pretzels, and then you would let it set for a second, and then you would sprinkle the sprinkles over the top, and you would be all set to go. So that's a little bit about chocolate. When we come back, we're going to make some pretzels and show you how to dip it and put on the sprinkles. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sweets, Treats, and Eats podcast. It's Halloween and chocolate. So we talked a little bit about chocolate, the different ways it comes, the different ways to melt it, what you can add to it. Now let's have some fun. Let's make some chocolate pretzels. Really easy to do. So we've melted some chocolate. So over here, you can see that we have nice melted milk chocolate that we're going to work with. And so what we're going to do is we have our tongs, because that's the tool that we need for this. And we have our pretzels over here. So it's really quite straightforward. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the pretzel, we're going to drop it into the vat of chocolate, and then we're going to sort of push it and cover both sides. And then we're just going to pick it up and we're going to shake it. And you can see all the chocolate that comes off of it when you shake it. Not to worry, there's still going to be plenty of chocolate left on the pretzel. So when you've shaken it enough, and then we're going to put it on our non-stick sheet over here. And then we're going to come and get our next pretzel. Again, drop it into the vat of chocolate and dip it on both sides. And then shake, shake, shake. Make sure we get all the chocolate, excess chocolate off of it. And then we're going to put it down again next to the other, give it some room. And then we'll take one more before we do the toppings. So we take the pretzel, drop it in, go with our tongs to make sure we're covered. So this method also works well with Oreo cookies. So if you like the Oreo cookies and you want to surprise people, and I'll show you some of those a little bit later because we made some, is that you can dip Oreo cookies the same way. So now we've dipped our 3 pretzels, and now we're going to do toppings for the pretzels. So what we have here are some Halloween sprinkles, so orange, yellow, and white, and we have a spoon because that makes it easy to work with. We come over to the pretzels and we just shake them over the top like that, and do the next one. Grab a few more sprinkles, and then grab the next one over here. So you can put all kinds of toppings on the pretzels. We did sprinkles here. You can do mini M&Ms. Those work really well. You can put toasted coconut over the top. That also looks great. So there's a lot of neat things you can do with pretzels. So that's our session on pretzels. And when we come back, we're going to look at graham crackers. So stay with us. Okay, so we just did pretzels, and as you can see, I finished up the pretzels, and now we're going to go on to graham crackers. And graham crackers are really easy to work with. You take them out of the package, they're big sheets, and they have perforations in them, and you just break them off, and you wind up with 4 cookies per sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the graham cracker, we're going to dip just part of it, like this. So into the chocolate it goes. We pick it up, we shake it off, and as you can see, we have the graham cracker with chocolate. So we'll do that again. So while I'm doing that, I also want to remind you that you should check out our Facebook and Twitter pages, and it's at Living Life ETB. So why don't you check us out? You can see recipes, you can see behind the scenes of what goes on putting the podcast together. So check us out. So here's our second graham cracker. You can see that we have the chocolate. We shake it off, put it down, and then we'll do one more. You dip it in. Well, that one broke, so we'll just take another one. That's why we have extras. So we dip it in, take it out, shake off the excess chocolate, and then put it down. And then the same thing we did before. We have different types of sprinkles now, still Halloween colors, and we'll just shake a little bit of sprinkles on each one. And there you have it. So the graham crackers that we have here, that we just put the chocolate on, is going to be part of one of the other things that we're doing a little later on in the podcast. So stay tuned for that. All right, so we are ready to make the bark. And as I mentioned, bark is a free-form type of thing, so you can have a lot of fun making bark. And there's all different barks that you can make out there with different kinds of chocolate, with different types of fillings, for the different holidays. So for instance, for Christmas, we make a white chocolate bark that has candy cane segments crushed up in it. It's very good. For St. Patrick's Day, we make a bark that has green decorations on the top and chocolate crunchies in the middle, and that's really good also. So there's all kinds of toppings that you can put, on a bark, and you can put toppings inside, and those are things like marshmallows, dried fruit, like dried cranberries and things like that. And you could put things on top, which is what we're going to do for this bark that we're going to make today. So we have a couple of different toppings that we have here. So we have candy corn, and notice we keep with the Halloween theme here. Bars, and those are for the trick-or-treaters, what they hand out. We have M&Ms, so we have special Halloween edition M&Ms that we're working with. And we have special candy eyes, and these are really cool, so we're going to put them in and make it look like there are ghosts hanging out in it. And then we also have here, these are peanut butter cups, and that reminds me, so if you have people that have allergies that you're making this, and popular allergy is peanuts, then you probably wouldn't want to use peanut butter cups when you put this together. And you could substitute other things for it, like maybe you want to put marshmallows on it, or maybe toasted coconut, or something like that. So be aware of the group that you're making it for. If you're bringing it to a party or something, you may not want to put the peanut butter cups in because you don't know who has allergies and stuff. So sort of keep that in mind when you're working. So we start with the chocolate, and you can see here that I have melted the chocolate again for us to work with. So also I just want to remind you that we started out melting some chocolate, and then we added the leftover chocolate that we used for the pretzels and for the graham crackers that we dipped before. And we melted that in as part of it, so you don't waste anything. So you have we have the vat of chocolate here to work with. So to do a bark, it's very easy. And since it's free form, as I mentioned before, that we will take the chocolate that we've melted here, and essentially what we're going to do is just pour it out onto the pan here. So, and we'll pour it so you can see, and let me use the spoon to get the rest of it out of here. Okay, so we put that back in here, and then what we can do is sort of spread it out, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect, it's free form. So we're just going to move the chocolate around, get it spread out like this, and then once we do that, we'll start with the toppings. So we can start with the candy corn, and all we have to do is take pieces of candy corn and sort of drop it in, all through the design. And you don't have to, put them all on at one time. You can put a few on and then come back. So we can take some Kit Kat bars, which we have here, and we can position those strategically in the bark here. So they're spread out, and you don't have to worry because, and when you cut the bark, which is what we'll do, after it's cooled down, the Kit Kat bars will cut as part of it, so people will get a piece of it. We have our M&Ms, which is what we have here, and we'll just basically take them and drop them in. It's all random, so if you want to do specific patterns and stuff, please feel free to do it, but I'm just dropping things randomly in here to give us a nice design of it. So we also have the peanut butter cups, and we talked about those already. So we know that people here can eat them. So we'll just position them around the bark here and make sure that everybody that gets a piece has all the different candies that are in it. Another one over here. And then maybe we'll go back because there's a couple of spots that perhaps I missed with the candy corn. So I'll grab some more candy corn here. Whoops. And I'll drop it in. All right. And now let's get some eyes involved. So eyes typically happen in pairs. So what I'll do is I'll drop an eye in and then grab another one, put it right next to it, and just sort of straighten it out so they look good. So that's one pair of eyes. We'll drop another eye over here and grab another one and put it next to it and just sort of straighten those out. That looks good. And then maybe we'll put another pair of eyes over here. So you can see it's very easy to do. It's a lot of fun. It's also a good family project. So you might want to get the kids around the table when you're doing this and let them put different candies on and stuff. So it's actually a lot of fun. So I just wanted to mention kinds of toppings that you can put on here. So we talked about miniature marshmallows. We talked about coconut. We talked about dried fruit. All different types of sprinkles. They all make a great bark. So as you can see here, our bark looks great. At this point, we just have to let it cool because then it will solidify, and then we'll be able to cut it up. And don't worry about cutting it up, making every piece the same size. The fun part of it is that you can put it into a lot of different shapes. So when you display it on the platter like we're going to do, it looks really cool. So that's the bark. As I said, it's really easy to do. You should try it with whatever variety of candies and stuff that you want to use. And that's what we'll have it. So coming up next, we're going to be working on the ghostly s'mores dip. So stay with us. So let's talk a little bit about s'mores before we get into the actual recipe. S'mores has actually been around since 1927. That's way back. It appeared first in a Girl Scouts handbook, maybe part of a merit badge or something like that. Back in 1938, it appeared in a camping book or a camping guide. Also a point of interest is that August 10th is National S'mores Day. So you can use this recipe if you want to celebrate the day. And then another point of interest is the word s'mores actually comes from two words put together. Some, more, s'more. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the ingredients that are going to be part of the recipe that we're putting together for you today. We start out with chocolate chips, and in this recipe I'm going to be using two different kinds of chips, 2 cups of these chips by the way, and I'm going to be using semi-sweet and milk chocolate chips because I like the taste of those coming together. Next, we have some heavy cream, 1/4 cup of that, which we're going to pour over the chips and it's going to help them melt nice and smooth. In addition, we have the Peeps Marshmallow Ghosts, and we're going to put those on the top, and they're going to melt over the top of the chocolate, make this really cool dip. You'll notice that the Peeps have eyes and mouths on them. Initially, there were little dots that were put in. Those are going to melt away in the oven. So what we did is we cut up some of the chocolate chips, and we put them in there so that we'll still have eyes and mouth when we come out of it. Okay, so why don't we put this together? We're going to start with a 9-inch pie pan, disposable, so you can get rid of it after it's done. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the chocolate chips, we're going to pour them into the pan, and we're going to spread them out across the bottom of the pan to make sure all of it is covered. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the heavy cream, and we're going to try to pour it all around so it covers the chips that we're working with. So take your time to make sure that you distribute it well and get it all in there. Okay, now the fun part. So we're going to take the ghosts and we're going to sort of position them. So we start in the middle and then we're going to build around the outside. So we're going to position ghosts all around here and make sure you take up as much of the space as you can. Fill it in there. Put some in over here. Put some in here, and then we have room to put a couple right down here on the bottom. So we'll do that. Make sure they're all pushed in. Okay, so one thing I just wanted to point out is you see we're using ghosts here, but you can use others as well. So we have some pumpkin peeps that we can use, but peeps makes it for other holidays as well. So you can have Thanksgiving peeps, you can have Christmas peeps, you can have Easter peeps, so you can adapt this recipe for whatever you want to do. So we're going to put this in the oven at 450 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes, but keep an eye on it. Once the peeps start turning golden, you're ready to go. When this is done, we're going to join you in the Sweets, Treats, and Eats Halloween extravaganza. We can't wait to see you there. Here we are at the Sweets, Treats, and Eats Halloween extravaganza. So let's review the things that we put together on this episode. Let's start over here in the pretzel gallery. And you can see over here that the pretzels that we dipped with the sprinkles on it, we did those. And we have some additional pretzel ideas as well. You can see dark chocolate owl pretzels with eyes and owl's nose on it. You can also see some orange pumpkin pretzels over there with green stems on it. And you can see some pretzel rods with dark chocolate that we put together over here. In addition to dipping pretzels, we also said that you can dip other things as well. So way on the end over there, those are Oreos, which we actually dipped with milk chocolate and put sprinkles and mini M&Ms on it. In addition, over here, you'll see some white chocolate ghosts. And what we did when we went to the store to pick up the chocolate, they also have chocolate molds, all different kinds. And we bought some ghost molds and we poured the white chocolate in it, and that's what you see over there. Second, we have the Halloween bark. And you saw it when we did it, it was on a big sheet pan in one piece. And what we've done is we cut it up into all types of odd sizes. You can do that with a knife. You can break it with your hands if you want to. It's rustic looking. It fits on the plate, makes a great display. And it's also delicious with all those ingredients in it. And then the third thing we did, which is over here, is the ghostly s'mores dip. And you can see how nicely that the ghosts have melted. In addition, you can see the graham crackers on both sides. Those we dipped with chocolate, and we'll try those in a minute. In addition to that, we have another thing here to show you, and this is brownie spiders that we put together. Off-the-shelf brownie mix, not very difficult. Once the brownies were cooked, we took a biscuit cutter and we cut it into circles. So that's the first part of it. Next, we took some pretzel sticks and we put them on a sheet pan, and we broke the pretzels, and then we joined them together, and then we put chocolate over it to create a joint for the spider legs. And then what we did is we pushed the spider legs into the spider with a little chocolate, put some eyes on the top, and we're all set to go. So you can see we put together some really good treats to work with. So what I want to say to all of you is thank you for joining us on the premiere episode of Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats podcast. Remember, you can follow us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter at Living Life ETB. You can also find recipe links and behind-the-scenes action. So let's try and see how this came out. So we'll dig down, grab some. That looks good. That's great. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.